WFH with two guys. Now here's Benny and Dennis.
Artificial intelligence is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and I think it has grown on Dennis quite a bit.
It has grown on Dennis. Dennis has found new applications and tools to make life easier.
This is something that, for all intents and purposes, we're still at the very beginning stages of artificial intelligence. And if you blink your eyes, you're going to miss some progress every day. Literally, I see something change every single day when it comes to AI. And so today we've got Peter Mayers with G76, the managing director over there. He's going to give us a little bit of an update and some progress in what he's seeing as far as artificial intelligence goes. I think this is a really interesting one. And we really get into the idea of why it's important to adopt artificial intelligence. You don't have to go full bore into it, but there's some real solid business reasons and really just cultural reasons that you want to have artificial intelligence in your company, isn't it, Dennis?
Yes. And this one I think is a really good one where you begin to learn and listen to the conversation around practically how you can use it and not to be afraid of it. And I think Pete does a really good job of giving us some examples and taking us through some of the things that you might be able to use in your business today that you hadn't thought about.
Take a listen to this one because I think you'll pick up on a few things. And if you're of the reluctant sort when it comes to artificial intelligence in your business, maybe this will change a little bit. Dennis, as obviously you and I have talked about AI a lot last season, things have changed. Things have moved on. And what we saw with artificial intelligence, even 6 months ago, we've changed a little bit in terms of where we are today.
It just keeps evolving and there's new tools out there. There's new things happening. But I still think there's a challenge we all face of that perception of what is AI and trying to understand, is it outer space AI or is it what we use in our day-to-day world? There's just lots of challenges. I think people that I come across are still confused.
So what we want to make sure is we're keeping our place in check, and we want to bring in somebody who obviously knows this a little bit better than we do. But Peter, thanks for coming on today's podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to be here and to see you guys again.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that. We're here in fall of 2024. When ChatGPT rolled out in the fall of 2022, it was really earth-shattering. It changed a lot of people's perception about what AI should be, what it could be, and all that stuff. We've got a little bit of time. We've had a little bit of development within AI, and I still think we're in the very, very early stages of what it's going to look like and what we're migrating to. But from your observation, what do you see? How does AI look to you today versus the way it was 6 months, a year ago?
From what we're seeing is a lot more companies entering this space and promoting AI as a tool to complement or enhance what a company is already doing. So I think ChatGPT introduced the world to large language models. And it is, it's fascinating. I just had a client that wrote a marketing plan from ChatGPT. And while it was great and brilliant and cut down the time it would take to generate it natively, it was so bland and so middle of the road that it is a tool. It's not the output or it's not the product, that there's still a lot of work and a lot of tailoring that has to be done. And it's, at least in my experience, it's not this black box, you feed it information and it spits out the air quote answer. Right. And I think that's part of the challenge companies are having with the adoption of AI is they think one thing, but it's the answer and I have to do it. Whereas it's like any other technology, it's a tool to facilitate, to enhance, to get better insights. But ultimately, I call it the human intelligence has to interpret it and make the ultimate decision.
The other thing, Benny, I'm seeing it too, is there's still a group of people that are just afraid of AI or don't even understand it. They equate it to, I saw on the news the other day, these little dog robots that are in Ukraine going ahead of the troops and scaring the Russians. That's what they think AI, isn't it? That's part of it. But Pete, I mean, you and I were talking before we started recording. I mean, it's really, there's a lot, there's a lot of things that people use today that is really AI. They just don't realize it's AI because it's about patterns. I mean, talk about the patterns and that kind of thing. That
Yeah. So RPA, robotic process automation, which is what I know you do, Dennis, is how do you automate a process that used to be done manually? And that is AI, because you're having technology do things that it's been trained on, and then it can do it faster, better, quicker, cheaper, all of those things. Where ChatGPT is, again, a large language model, we're now straying into the large data models, which is where we play. We look for those patterns. And we're hearing a lot of, when we talk to a prospective company, prospective client, we go through what our AI found in pattern recognition. Their response more often than not is, well, where's the AI? Because they think of AI as ChatGPT or these artificial dogs chasing Russian troops away, as opposed to thinking that every time they use their credit card, and this is the example we give, there's the credit card company has AI that they're using on that individual transaction to understand whether it varies significantly from a pattern of my purchase habits, because they're looking for fraud. That is AI. It is finding the outliers. It's finding the transactions and behaviors that aren't consistent with an established pattern. Does that make sense?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, and if you think back, I mean, we all go to the grocery store and you're scanning groceries. And I used to work at Frito-Lay. That was 20 years ago. We would get that data from Walmart and those guys to understand purchasing habits and what people were doing. And if they were buying Fritos, what else were they buying? Or if they were buying certain other products, did they buy Frito products with it? We would have to manually go through that in spreadsheets and data crunch and all that. Today, there's technology that takes that, and instead of spending 8 hours or 2 or 3 weeks on it, in minutes, it gives you those responses or those patterns that allow, your point earlier, the human then to make a better decision of what they should be doing.
Right. And so I read this 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when big data, remember that term? Big data was the next big thing. And Walmart was one of the leading companies exploring that. And they, through data crunching, realized that strawberry Pop-Tarts were the most purchased item in areas that were hit by hurricanes in the South. And so they took that knowledge, they recognized the pattern because they were constantly selling out of strawberry Pop-Tarts, and used that they married in weather forecasts and were able to then change their logistics and supply chain to make sure that those Walmarts that were hit by hurricanes had strawberry Pop-Tarts. Now, a small company will look at that and say, well, I'm not Walmart, because Walmart spends billions of dollars on trying to find 5-10 basis points on their, $500 billion of revenue. It's meaningful. The key to that is Walmart had really good data. It was pretty pristine. They had their sales, they knew store, they knew product, all of that. And for a smaller company, they don't have the billions to spend. Their data is probably not as in good a shape as a Walmart because they don't have really good master data management, hygiene, and processes. And so how do you make it accessible and affordable to a smaller company? And I think that's the challenge. I think you, with what you do with your company and what we're doing with our company, is bringing AI capabilities to the middle and small market companies that they don't have to train their entire company data to get value out of AI. There are certain data sets that if you focus on, you can extract an enormous amount of value from that if you train the AI models appropriately.
Exactly.
It's really interesting. And as you guys were talking, it reminded me about an article I read not too long ago about when AI came out. And, Dennis, we've talked about this too as well. There was a lot of excitement as it relates to artificial intelligence in general, but now I'm starting to hear about this AI fatigue, right? And so anything that is related to AI, there's some people, and when they hear about it, they're going, it's kind of the same thing. And I think there's a potential danger on both sides of the fence of this in terms of like whether we choose to ignore AI and don't want to adopt it, or that we're tired of it. We're really not even scratched the surface yet in terms of where AI is going to be going. And then there are other pieces of it is that we have a tendency to, okay, because I'm tired of it, I don't think I need to worry about it. I don't need to get involved in it. I think both of those kind of processes are probably the wrong way of looking at artificial intelligence. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, not Peter.
I have a lot of thoughts, but you don't want to be a Luddite, and you don't want to shun technology because you don't think it's going to stick around or it doesn't apply to you. Because the reality is the companies that leverage data analytics, that leverage machine learning, AI, all of these advanced technologies grow, I think it's 10, 15% faster and are 10 to 15% more profitable. And if you aren't using the technology that your competition is doing, you're falling behind, and ultimately it's the slow boat to being irrelevant, because you're just not going to be able to compete. And yes, you could probably find a niche, but it's going to be so much smaller, so much less profitable than if you just gotten on the boat and started to wade into the AI and the technology. On the flip side, I think it's a huge mistake to go out and bet the company on implementing a technology that is very expensive, particularly when you get into training your entire data set and all of that, and go all in without really understanding how you're going to use it, what the value proposition is, how it's going to pay for itself, and how it's going to ultimately improve the customer experience, either through lower prices, greater availability, greater intimacy with the customer, however those dimensions of value that the company wants to compete on. It is a bit of a don't go too far too fast, but certainly start the journey.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And actually along those lines, we were talking about some of the development. Can you identify a few different things that maybe you've seen out in the marketplace in terms of some of the evolutionary things? We started out with ChatGPT, and that was interesting, but as this technology matures, I understand that there are other adoptions and other things that are being integrated with artificial intelligence. Have you seen anything?
Yeah. So a couple things, when ChatGPT came out, it was ask it anything, almost an AMA type thing. And then there are several websites that will design logo and come up with a company name. You just put in some keywords and it'll generate logos and some creative things. You can put in, I forget the name of might be Wally, where you put in paint me something and it'll come up with this creative picture. And then you get into the large data models. Well, one thing that I saw it was earlier this week or last week, is a company, and I don't remember the name, but is using artificial intelligence in a new way. So it's a large language model, but it's used to train salespeople on how to handle customers that are aggressive, that are defensive, that you can put in this persona of a customer, give it clues as to how you want that customer to behave, and then is an interactive live, although using AI, where it's AI generated voice inflection, attitude, sentiment, all of that is bundled up, and then the salesperson interacts and has to counter their attitude, has to counter their questions, and then it does an assessment of what worked and what didn't work. So it is a generative live interaction that then learns, because you can now give it feedback while it's giving you feedback on how the salesperson did. And it's in, I don't know that it's live yet or it's in the beta version, but those are some of the creative ways that companies are coming up with how to incorporate AI that does benefit, does have a value, and you're training it on widely available data that's in the market or that the company is using, versus trying to train AI on company specific data that may have some integrity problems.
Yeah, and really, you made a good point. Both of you and Dennis both made a good point. If you imagine just putting a blanket over your head and just doing things the way they've always been done. I've had this company since the 90s, and it's just going to I'm going to keep doing this because it's worked for me in the past. And then suddenly, let's wait a couple of years, and suddenly you realize that your competition is not only, say, for instance, they've automated their entire process, their sales process from lead generation to actually closing business is all done through AI. And the order processing is suddenly being able to be streamlined. And you suddenly are now, what was acceptable as a week's delivery time now is only acceptable for being being delivered in 3 days. And if you haven't kept up with the technologies and understanding what's going on, you doom yourself to being to having failure just because of the attitude, like, I don't want to incorporate that, or it's too expensive, or it's too complicated. That really is a big danger I see nowadays.
Yeah,
I think
it's the danger of being irrelevant.
Yeah, irrelevant, but also you got to be careful. Don't go spend millions on something until you understand it and know what your processes are and all that kind of stuff. So it's a tough world out there, because you think back to the 80s and 90s, there was new things coming out and people were all concerned. It's got to keep evolving. It's got to go faster. And the key thing is listen to people, talk to people, ask questions. I know I'm in a networking group, and at the end, the last 10 minutes now, we just go around the room and share what are some of the AI tools that each one of us are using. I mean, some of it's simple stuff. I mean, my big one recently is Scribe. I mean, if you're doing training materials, Scribe makes life so much easier and faster to create training materials. It used to take me hours. Now in 10, 15 minutes, I can have stuff done, be able to edit it, post it, share it, print it, whatever I need to do. And so those are things that you begin to learn without spending a fortune on some software, how you can begin to use and get involved in that AI movement, I guess.
Yeah. So, in terms of what I see happening out there in the marketplace, and I'll say it's all contributed to what I had talked about before, this AI fatigue. I think a lot of what people are seeing is that the adoption of artificial intelligence in some capacity, even if it's a slight amount, if it just can help you make a decision on a purchase while you're on a e-commerce website to buy something, or if it's actual process that you can use internally to help improve some of the way things are being done, RPA, and you're adding additional elements of AI on top of that, could potentially make things move so much faster and have just the processes move so exponentially quick. I think you both make a good point in terms of not, betting the farm on it today, because I think where we are today and what maybe we'd be paying $10,000 for through AI might only be $1,000 next year or in a couple of years. But the idea here is you have to stay involved and make sure that everything that you're looking at is relevant. You guys have any thoughts in terms of what that looks like for you, Peter? Let me ask you.
Yeah, I'll give a recent example. We had a prospective company that declined to move forward with us because they said their reason was, we have the data, we're really good at analyzing the data, and we see this as an added expense. And there's, hidden in there is, we're good enough, we're good with what we have. And the reality is they aren't. That AI and machine learning finds things they just can't find. And so the reluctance that, we're good enough, we're capable enough is, may sound good, may feel good, but the reality is none of us know everything about everything. And AI is a tool that we should be using, that we should be incorporating, and, start small. And while it's true that what might cost 10,000 today might cost 1,000 in a year or 2 years, if you wait, you're going to be a year behind everyone else. And that $10,000 or $9,000 delta is going to cost you probably at least an order of magnitude in opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're already behind people. And there is such a thing as an experience curve. The more you use something, the better you're going to get, the more you're going to understand the opportunity, the value, how you can place it and utilize it in other ways. And there is an opportunity cost to not starting down this path.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I think it's one where, again, even if you're just dabbling and getting a little bit into, and it's that experience curve, start small and then grow with it. You don't have to jump full in, but if you're going to sit on the sidelines and wait, that delta of 9,000 in this example could turn into $900,000 difference because someone else may figure it out and run with it. And yeah, your growth goes 1 or 2%, but they're going exponentially, 10 times what you're doing, and they're just blowing and going. And then at that point, customer service begins to go up at the other place. People leave for all kinds of different reasons. And so you've got to be aware. You've got to be, again, if you're putting your head in the sand, you may wake up one day and everyone else is gone and there's no one there for you to serve the product or service that you provide.
Right. And I think one of the other things is extend your time horizon, because a 1% improvement compounded over 10 years has that compounding effect. So $9,000 might be a 1-year expense delta from 1 to 2, but what does that look like over 5 years? And if you wait, maybe it's going to come down from 1,000 to 400. Do you wait until it come down to under 100, or what is that price point that you're comfortable with the risk reward equation? But you will have lost 2-3 years of $90,000, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 of impact that you just passed by to save a couple $100.
Exactly.
This is an ever evolving area of technology and business in general. And I think that we have just started to see what's going to be going on. So that obviously, Peter, we need to keep having you come back on here and keeping us informed of what's going on. But in the meantime, there are going to be some folks out there who do need maybe your counsel. They need to get a little bit of help from you and understanding about how they can adopt artificial intelligence into their business. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The best way would be via email, and my email address is Peter M. So M as in Mary, Peter M at G76.AI.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, thank you so much for stopping in today. We appreciate it. Always giving us a little bit of tidbits and wisdom here when it relates to artificial intelligence. We appreciate it, and we're going to get you back on here again.
All right. Fantastic. It was fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Well, Dennis, that's another podcast in the can. I know that a lot of you all want to know how to get in touch with us. Dennis, what's the best way for folks to be able to get a hold of you?
Yeah, email's by far the best for me. It's dennisj, so DENNISJ at worksolution.com. And that's WORX Solution, no S at the end, so solution.com. Benny, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. Get a hold of me. My email address is benny@velocitytechnology.group. That's BENNY at velocitytechnology.group. Also, for me and Dennis, you can find us on LinkedIn. Look for us on LinkedIn. Our Work From Home with Two Guys is on LinkedIn. And we also have a website, WFH2guys.com. Look us up. You'll find all the past episodes and some little bits of information that maybe we don't get a chance to talk to on the podcast. We put it out there too as well.
And definitely share us with your friends and people in your network.
Absolutely. Let us know what we can do to make this podcast your podcast. Give us some ideas. And if you'd like to be a guest, let us know. We'll talk to you guys soon.
You've been listening to WFH with Two Guys. We'll see you next time.